Hi everyone, good evening. This is Sarah again. Just had a delicious dinner from Zingerman's Roadhouse. I needed some fried chicken, so I went through the drive-thru and got some fried chicken and some ribs and some mac and cheese. And that made me happy. We are on day number 4. Day number 4 is going to look a lot like day number 3. Our recipe is exactly the same. I will post this right below this video. Our goal is to feed Jerome and Fred and maintain a healthy environment for good yeast to thrive. It is important to remember that Rome was not built in a day, and neither is a good, naturally leavened starter. This is a marathon, friends, not a sprint. Before I get started, I would like to introduce you to my assistant, a tall bearded man. He's going to be helping me edit this video because we all know I need some help. So, here we go. I'm going to feed Jerome. I'm happy to report that both Jerome and Fred are active and delicious. What I'm smelling is just sort of good bacteria. I know that's not very helpful. I wish I could send smells over videos. I've had sourdough starters go bad many, many times. I've had pink foam on top of them. I've had smells where I had to withdraw my head quickly because I was sort of overwhelmed by the pungent aroma of like bad stinky socks. So you'll know, I've gotten a few questions. People have said, it's been 50 hours since I did day 1. Is it still okay? Totally fine, especially if you're in a cooler spot. And sometimes it takes a day or 2 or 3 to even see even incremental activity. I have someone asked, they said they had no activity within the first 24 hours. That's okay. I didn't really see much until I did the day 2 feeding. So go ahead with the day 2 feeding. But for day number 4, I have my water. I'm going to get that right in my bowl. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to feed Fred. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get my water in the bowl first. 115 grams of water. And I need 220 grams of Fred. Oops, it would help if I teared out my scale. So you will notice on day 4 your starter is sticky to the touch. It's also very firm. There's nothing wrong with that. Remember, we were talking about how there are many, many, many different kinds of starter. This is what's known as a firm starter, and it's just the ratio of water and flour that makes it this way. Some recipes call for a more liquid starter, just a higher hydration. It's got more water in it. The goal of all these starters is exactly the same. It's to give flavor and to leaven the bread. All right, I'm almost there. I have 224 grams. I need 220. I'm okay with that. So, with what remains, Sue sent me a really good link for things you can use your excess sourdough starter for tomorrow or the next day. I'm going to show you how to turn this into something. So, thank you, tall bearded assistant. It's really important to make sure before you put your starter back in the container that you clean it out, because residual starter in there is going, that's not incorporated, doesn't have the new flour mixed in for new yeast activity, is ultimately going to can. I've had that happen where it sort of brought my whole starter down. So, assistant, may I? Thank you.
This is really sticky.
That's okay. Sometimes if you have a lot of starter on your hand, what you're going to do when you're done, I'm going to add in first 215 grams of all-purpose flour. And then, as we've done before, stir, stir, stir with my spatula. Or just get in there right with your card. And so the next time I post a video, I want to do 2 things. I want to show you how, what we're going to do is we're going to take either Fred or Jerome, I haven't decided whom yet, and one of those starters, we're going to continue to feed on a cycle and a feeding similar to what we've been doing the last couple days, like day 4 and day 3. but I'll tell you how to make that a little bit easier, and we'll cut down the amount so there isn't so much starter, spent starter as it's called, going to waste. But with the other starter, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to turn that into a loaf of bread. Now, it's important to know that in these early days, the starter hasn't had a lot of time to get into a cycle, to build up a lot of good natural yeast, really capture that yeast. And so inevitably the bread that we make in the beginning is not going to be nearly as tasty or have as much lift to it as the bread that we're going to make in a few weeks' time. Remember, this is a marathon, not a sprint. But I want to show you how that's going to work. And if it's something you want to get into the habit of doing, then you'll know when we get to the point. Or if you just want to continue to feed, we can do that as well. I'll take you through that process. But just kneading, folding, and turning as we've done until it's nice and smooth. That's it. I'm going to clean out my sourdough container, or my assistant is, and I'm going to pop Fred right back in there. And I'll see you all again tomorrow. We'll talk about how to continue feeding, and I'll start getting into the process of how to make a loaf of bread.
Hey Sarah, this can't be good for the pipes.
Assistant, it is not good for the pipes. What we like to do, and we do this at Bake, for those of you who have taken classes, is before you go and wash your hands, because it's going to be really difficult to get a plumber to your house, is if you grab a handful of flour, or you kind of do a dry rub over the table and get as much of that dough off your hands as you can before you run to the sink. So, there we go. Thanks so much. Have a good night. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.